Welcome back once again to the High Performance Human podcast. I am absolutely delighted with this next guest. Honored, privileged, all of the words, all of the things. Danielle Weber is an artist based in Melbourne, but over the course of her journey has been in front of and worked on behalf of some of the biggest names you will know in the world today. She has been on some trip and a half, and for me, when it comes to all things art and generally anyone following a passion, Danielle is most certainly towards the top of the tree when it comes to high performance. Danielle, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on board this little podcast of ours. How the heck are you?
I'm great. Thank you. What an intro. And can I just highlight, I appreciate your support because you do own a few goodies, a few pieces of mine. So thank you, because that's all part of the journey. And I think that's how we connected. So it's cool.
I think it is. I think it was
a few mutual friends. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
mutual contact, Christian Gravias. Shout out to Christian.
Absolute legend.
But I was one of the ones who bought an NFT artwork from Danielle of Stephen Hawking. He keeps me on my toes. He keeps staring at me as and when I'm starting to get lazy. He stares at me and I go, oh shit, I better start being clever again.
Better start.
Very, very good. I've got a little print of hers just in the background here as well, just to give my props. Danielle, look, like I said, I understand how incredibly busy and in demand you are right now. I'm sure it wasn't always the case, though, and I really want to dig into that over the course of this little trip. First things first, though, give us a bit of a genesis story and an MO on your journey up to now.
Yeah, of course. So pretty creative child. I started drawing at 2 or 3 years old. Went through a bit of a troublesome teenage years, and found myself painting from like 9 or 10 years old. But I've really been painting consistently for the last 12 years. So I sort of embarked on the artist journey 12 years ago, where I started on smaller scale artworks and then transitioned into large scale murals. And now I guess my business includes media, murals, brand collaborations, all sorts of things. So definitely not haven't placed myself in one box, that's for sure. We've spread ourselves. Also doing some coaching and shadow work and helping other artists. And so it's been a bit of a long journey, but a very fulfilling one, that's for sure.
And we're definitely going to be unpacking that in a big way. Now, Danielle, we asked this question to every single person that comes on our podcast, and it serves as a bit of a barometer with regards to this whole high performance human stuff. I believe that there are 4 elements to being a high performance human, namely success, influence, connection, and happiness. And one cannot survive without the other 3. I want your version, though, of a high performance human. If you were to define it, and because you have got your fingers in a few different pies, so you can see a few different perspectives. What's your definition of a high performance human?
It's a great one. I haven't thought too much into this because I like being put on the spot and seeing what I can come up with on the spot. I think for me, when I think high performance human, discipline is a big one, and patience, which of course goes hand in hand with discipline. And I think, you mentioned success, but I think, I don't know, for me, being on a journey where there's just the unknown, I think I've had to diversify my skill set. And I think that is being flexible and being malleable and being able to, I guess, jump on opportunities and just, get shit done when you need to. That's a high performance human for me, I think.
I like it. It's probably, it's one of the, because some people try and be really clever with that. They try and stick in a few big words and all the rest of it. I love the simplicity of what you said there. Basically, it's you'd say adaptability.
That's a good word. Thank you.
Adaptability, discipline, and patience. And they're 3 words that haven't been spoken about all too often. But when I think about it, right, in the context of your story to date, it really does make sense, because let's face it, becoming a successful artist, really difficult. Really difficult. There's plenty of it, because obviously art, creative, it's all very, very subjective and whatnot, right? It's not like you're in sales where you've got a finite outcome, right, that can define success to a degree. Everything that you've drawn, I'm sure there'll be times when you're like, fuck, is anyone gonna like this thing or what?
Yeah.
So let's start digging into that a little bit. Now, like you mentioned, you've been an artist or focused on your art for 11, 12 years, formally, shall we say. What in those early years, though, you would have had a whole heap of things dangled at you, people doubting you, maybe people that you love, family members, close people, suggesting that, you might want to think about getting a proper, in inverted commas, job. Tell me about those early days around that whole process of managing to stay real sort of set on your way.
Yeah. Well, as you sort of touched on, I think, most artists are known for, I guess, typically, you make money when you're dead. It's so I guess the doubters, they didn't really have something to look forward and a light at the end of the tunnel for me, I guess. So, I don't place any blame or, I guess I don't hold any resentment towards the doubters. My art teacher at high school said you'll be starving, like you won't be able to make it as an artist.
Really?
Yeah. So fortunately for me, my family actually were really, really supportive. I wanted to do health science, and my parents actually encouraged me to tap into the arts. And I was adamant that I wouldn't be able to make a living out of it. So I've had the support, and I still know how hard it is because there is a lot of doubt. And more so, even just now, like it's been my living for 8 years, and I work on the streets, and I still get asked. I'm painting huge murals with some of the biggest brands across the world, and people are still like, "Oh, so what's your real job? Like, you're doing this here, but like, what do you actually do?" Like, this is my job. So it's something I've faced from the get go, and something I still face now. And look, as I said, I'm so lucky that I've had the support of my family, and I've kept my network close. And the people who don't understand it, I guess I've tried to just sort of educate natively over the years, because otherwise you're expending energy on, things that are probably not worth your time and energy. So yeah, I think friends and my close network now understand, but I think people still think I don't make any money most of the time, and it's great. So, and it's interesting. I think those conversations should shed light on how, I guess, how much work we still need to do. But it has, I feel like the stigma is changing for artists, but yeah, still a lot of work that we need to do. A lot of doubt.
I think there's one little bit of what you just said there that I think we perhaps need to highlight. You mentioned there that the ones that are closest to you know, and then anybody that questions it, you try and educate natively, which I think was a wonderful way of putting it, because you understand the need to preserve your energy for the important things.
Yes.
I'd love to dig into that just a touch, because on this trip towards achieving whatever version of high performance anyone has, right? Whatever their definition of it is. Obviously, one of the main resources that we have is our energy, right? Our energy, our time, our financial resource, like those key core elements, right? And for someone like yourself who it's very, very labor intensive what you do, obviously, because it has to be your hand on the end of a paintbrush, right, and whatnot, ultimately. So there's no one that can replicate you and your artwork. So talk to us about that, like your energy management, particularly when it comes to who you give your energy to. Talk to us about that. Is there in particular, is there a story that highlights where you've really learned that lesson in a big way?
Yeah, I think over the years I've learned that lesson through burnout and through just going, and then obviously your cup's empty and you've got, you don't even have anything to give to the people that you care about around you. So when I say preserving your energy, I think we all know through conversation there's people who we do give out and we're like, what, I could probably have a conversation and make an impact with that. But then, there's the negative and I guess the the trolls on the internet, and it's like, why are you expending your energy on something that having a conversation with that person isn't going to make a difference. So and at the end of the day, if I'm placing or putting my energy towards that, then I'm not working towards bettering my craft and bettering myself as a human in business as well. So I think I've learned that the hard way over the years. At the end of the day, as you said, I'm the only person that has to hold that brush and execute those projects. So you pick your battles. I think that's the biggest thing, is learning to say no, pick your battles. And then when I do have the capacities, like, do I have the capacities this week to have this conversation? Probably not. Whereas next week I might have the capacity to. And yeah, you can't always be showing up and trying to push forward and push these conversations that are really important to be had. So yeah, when I said natively, I'm saying, if you've got a platform like social media, you can mass educate, and then you're not dealing with, slight ignorance or people who need to be slowly educated, and you're not like pushing shit down their throat. Sorry. That's what I was trying to say. So yeah.
I think it ties in with something that I talk to a lot of salespeople, and real estate sales in particular, is the toxicity of having a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Now that can really motivate you at times, but as I found to my own detriment, it can very, very quickly turn into a toxic energy that if it gets through your body, you end up becoming really quite sour and resentful to the world around you. Have you ever had a phase like that before?
Yes, I definitely have gone through waves, and it really just then does myself a disservice in the quality of my work and the way that I'm able to show up. So now instead of getting angry, and you feel it in your stomach, like you get asked to do things for exposure and it flips your stomach upside down immediately. And now I'm just like, okay, let's just take a step back and understand that people generally have come to you with their best intentions. They don't want to upset you. They think that they're doing that they're helping you. Generally speaking, the people around you have their best intentions for you. So it's like, how do we flip that narrative and say, okay, instead of getting a chip on your shoulder, maybe we'll have a conversation when you have the capacity. I think the Rock said it on a podcast. If he gets upset about something, he'll sit on it for 2 or 3 weeks and then have a conversation and show up and speak on that issue. So yes, I used to get really frustrated, but now I sort of take a few steps back and either approach it with humor, don't approach it at all until I'm not acting on emotion, and then show up and have a conversation. It depends. If I respect that person, then we might work through that, so we're not building up those toxic emotions, and then I can tick that box and move on. But yeah, I think approaching things with humor and I mean, I'm a smart ass. If I'm on a building site or something and someone says something, I'll generally just ruffle a few feathers and then move on. But look, no, I don't. I've tried to not hold that toxic energy, because it's at the end of the day, like, it's not going to affect anyone else but you. So
that's a great point. You're absolutely spot on. That energy, ultimately, it's only going to influence yourself in a negative way. And when you are trying to go for something that is greater than where you are or who you are at that particular point, the last thing that you want to be doing is infecting yourself with bad energy, right? And or dispelling some of that precious energy, because I think we all need to hold on to it a little bit, a little bit more of a degree of care. We're very quick, aren't we? Especially as ADHD types, we're very quick.
We got a bit more in our pocket.
Fire energy off wherever we need to go, right? We're like, wait, let's go do that now. So knowing full well that it's completely useless, but anyway, that's a whole nother topic.
That's a whole nother.
That's Pandora's box of a topic anyway. And we might touch on it in a sec. But you mentioned Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and I can't have a conversation with you publicly without having a bit of a yarn about that. But I want to tie it in with the extent to which you've gone from one of probably the best bit of social media that I've seen from you, and this is just my personal opinion, was it was a very, very early video where someone's videoing you in a kitchen. Was it your parents' kitchen? Or you're in someone's kitchen and you're just beavering away and whatnot, and it's like little innocent, Danny just doing a thing and hoping for the best. And fast forward to the world premiere of Black Adam, and The Rock commissions you to do a portrait of him and then present it to him on the red carpet.
Yeah.
Do you not go, this is just fucking mental?
I have waves where I'm like, this is mental. But then I also just have waves, like it's so much greater, like my purpose and my drive is so much greater than those singular moments. Not that they're singular moments, but like it is a highlight in the journey. And I think there's so much more to it than that, what people see. So I try not to get, I guess, too caught up in that. Because otherwise you're just riding insane highs and insane lows after those things. So yes, huge, like I guess I see the bigger picture of that. I'm like, what did that do for other artists? What I didn't have anyone to look up to. So something like that, the response of artists being like, oh my God, it's possible. I can make something of it. And then I guess the contrast from, as you mentioned, me sitting in my parents' kitchen in the back room, in the garage of my grandparents' house, in the bungalow, not having a studio space for 10 years, and then being, showing up at an event and being trusted on a world stage like that. The contrast is insane. So yes, that is mental.
Well, I love your gold is in amongst a whole bunch of stuff. What you said then, very, very quickly, but is so ridiculously poignant, is your purpose is far greater than any individual moment. Now, I'd love my social team to just clip that, please. That is very much a key highlight to this entire podcast to date. Your purpose is far greater than any one individual moment. So tell me on that, that's gold. Tell me on that, what is your purpose?
It's evolved. I think my purpose initially was to pursue a life of passion and doing something I love. Now it is, how do we put out positive energy to make a change for creatives as a whole? And in turn, I think that has a greater ripple effect. The people who are perhaps in jobs where they're, not fulfilled, or they're not living a life that they love. And maybe they are a creative person, or maybe they're not, and they're in the wrong field. So I think the purpose has evolved in that I see that there's a greater impact on, I guess, inspiring people to also live a life of fulfillment, and not be driven by, I get paid really well to do what I do now, but I definitely didn't start this journey being like, I'm going to be a wealthy artist. I think it's living a life, like having good intentions, and in turn being able to then, I guess, live a fulfilling and happy life and love every moment. Like fun is like my priority in what I do. So yeah, the purpose has evolved, definitely. And I think, as you said, it's just like, it's a culmination of probably more so low lights, not even highlights. Like it's lessons that have then, I guess, formed that greater purpose, for sure.
Do you find that, because it sounds like you have taken something of a responsibility upon yourself in order to shine a light on what can be,
Yes.
for your world, for artists, up and comers, and ones that have been trying to beat on the door forever and a day, and what have you. Do you find that sometimes that responsibility can dampen your love for what you do, or does it give you a greater meaning to the word love? Because the importance of doing something that you love when it comes to being a high performance human, I personally can attest to that wholeheartedly, because of all the various things I'm doing, auctioneering is certainly something that I truly love, and therefore I do perform at a higher level than anything else that I do. Do you feel that with that responsibility, it's almost that Spider-Man line, right? With great power comes great responsibility. Do you find sometimes that it dampens your love for the game?
I don't think the responsibility that I feel to help artists dampens my love for the game. I think the lack of understanding and the lack of value that people see in creatives sometimes dampens my love for the game because it gets tiring. But my determination to change that narrative for us is far greater than whatever, you know, I may feel from time to time. And that comes back to energy too. Sometimes you might get, you know, we talk about jab hooks in business, like you might get like 10 smacks in the face, like one after another. And then you might have a week where you're just like breezing through. So I think it just depends on the environment of the business. But no, I think look, everyone in business faces moments where they're like, I'm sucked, like I'm depleted, I'm sucked, like everyone sucked the energy out of me, I've got nothing left. But no, my determination and my love and my want and need to help other artists, knowing that I didn't have that, I think is far greater than, you know, sometimes when I am feeling like you're taking 100 steps backwards and 1 step forward.
Do you feel that then therefore that having some sort of responsibility and a purpose that goes beyond oneself, but goes beyond yourself, do you think that actually plays a critical role in your ever turning motivation to want to do better and be better and show more and be more?
100%. Yeah. Because I've learned that artists knowing that I'm showing up, and I'm quite honest about the fact that I'm like, I'm not the best artist out there. I've literally just worked really hard at it, worked hard at business, you know, I'm like, okay, not going to be the best artist. How do we like, you know, improve, I guess my skill set as a whole, work on business, work on things that you can control. And yeah, knowing that artists are watching that and I'm like inspiring them, it's like consistency is key in anything. You know, you can't just paint one mural and expect another 10 to walk through the door. So definitely that I feel that like I you know, some people are a bit more cruisy. They're like, oh, just paint whenever you feel like it. And I'm like, oh, you want to make a girl of anything and you want to be great or a high performance individual, you really have to work at it. And it has to be almost like an addiction. So definitely motivates.
Great word for it. You know, and you know, an addiction is generally got tremendously negative connotations, but I think that when used appropriately and pointed in the right direction, addiction can be like the driving force when you've got that singular focus on a purpose. And I think the mistake that some people make when it comes to the interpretation of addiction is that and I think this is probably a high performance misconception because a lot of people that are high performers in whichever field, they've generally had to sacrifice, right? Rick Rushton put it, the opportunity cost is, you know, they're prepared to pay it, whatever it is. It could be to the detriment of family, friends, blah, blah, blah. But addiction in the purest positive sense, you know, your addiction to your craft has so many knock on, like you said before, ripple effects that other people can benefit from because of the pure energy that you put to the thing that you love to do. And I think that is tremendous. And I think a recognition in that it can only drive someone to go that step further and to keep pushing the envelope of what high performance looks like for them. Because I think the minute that you stop is the minute you start falling backwards. I think that's probably fair. Now I wanted to dig just very quickly into your the thing that does sort of get a bit of a bee in your bonnet, which is the value thing, the value prop. And I've seen a few of your little digs and your little rants where you've just gone, oh, this is worth a little bit of energy. You know, because artists, kind of like most service industries, there's the majority of the population really struggle to see the value that comes with the skill set that you provide. And I think particularly with art, I would have thought more so than many, potentially. people just see you painting on a wall and go, yeah, can you do that for us? And, you know, oh, but then we'll have it on our wall and it'll be a great promotion for you and all this sort of crap. And
we're gonna market you, and it's just gonna be great. Like our customers love you. Love you. Just everyone like just, you know, we know because we've done a survey on how much our customers. Anyways, yeah, sorry, we can go on rants. You've kicked me off already.
So how do you tackle that, man? Because I think one of the biggest issues when someone's trying to step out of the shadows of society and into their own light, value of self and value of one's skill set is probably one of the biggest stumbling blocks, I would have thought. It's probably one of the biggest hurdles. It certainly has been for me and continues to be for me.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that, right? Because this probably would have been something that you've dealt with in day one and you deal with today.
Yeah. And you still question yourself.
Yeah.
As you would find, you know, it's that swinging pendulum. It's just like, oh, how are we feeling today? Like, we're up here or we're down here? We're here or we're down here? Look, it's something that as you build more confidence, I guess, you know, the way that you value yourself and you value others, and your understanding and your knowledge increases as well. It gets easier to, I guess, be like, no, this is what I'm worth. This is what I'm charging. And there's a non-negotiable below that. So I think it comes back to, so how do I deal with it? If it's someone I know, I'll have an honest conversation, because I owe them, you know, as I said, they generally have best intentions, and I'll do my best to educate them, and try and help them understand that, you know, at the end of the day, like being a creative or being an artist, it's a niche. Not a lot of people can do what we do. And it's a unique one-off piece of artwork that the next person can't do. So, and even if I tried to paint the same thing twice, I couldn't. So where I struggle to understand is because when people come to me and they don't value art, I'm like, I actually don't mind if you don't value art, because not everyone values the same thing. You might like designer things, people might like cars, people might like investing in sports equipment. Everyone has different, I guess, hobbies and they see value in different things. So that's so fine if you don't value art, but please don't engage an artist. Don't come to an artist and expect them to paint for free because you want something, but you don't want to pay for it. So I think that's where I get frustrated, because look, do I want to spend 10 grand on a mural right now? Probably not. But, you know, if I was ready, then I'd understand that, you know, engaging an artist would probably cost me something around that. So yeah, how do I deal with it? I think educating people, because we can't expect, you know, some people just get angry and think that they know, but you can't. Not everyone's like, I don't know, but probably I know 2% of what you do. So, and I sometimes find myself asking people really ignorant questions, and I'm like, I just heard what I just said, and I hate that when people do that to me, but I know that I didn't mean it like that. So yeah, I think across the board, I need to teach other artists how to value themselves, so then we can all charge what we're worth, and then no one's undercutting. Undercutting happens everywhere. But if we're all showing up and trying to educate people and charging what we're worth, then that's when it becomes a little bit easier to, I guess, change that goalpost.
I think a couple of things in that. Firstly, you've used the word educate quite a lot, and I think that's really, really important. I think that if you do want to represent a value, you can't claim to have a value if you're not prepared to put it out there.
Yeah.
And I think that's one critical thing that a lot of people don't. And again, not like I'm preaching from an ivory tower here. I've got the t-shirt on this one as well. You don't want to give away all your secrets, right? Or your secrets, like as if you know, it is like you bloody Gandalf or something. Not being shy on giving away your secrets, because ultimately you can show what you do, but no one can do what you do. And I think that's where art probably plays, or should play, a much bigger lesson in business when it comes to individuality.
Yeah.
Because, for example, you take salespeople. Everyone bangs on about wanting to know what their unique selling point is, and, you know, how do I put across a unique selling point? And they're too busy looking at the brand, when ultimately it's them holding the pen. It's the fleshy bit holding the pen that holds the
Yeah.
unique selling proposition.
Yeah.
And art is just such an incredible visual representation of that.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people in business can really learn from. Like,
Yeah.
if you put your value in terms of an artist, can anybody paint the way you paint? Can anybody coach the way you coach? Can anyone speak the way you speak? The answer is a resounding no. Not one person on this planet can do exactly what you do.
No.
And I think that is certainly something that if a portion of us, if only a handful of people that listen to this episode, if that's the thing they pick up on, then please, well, you've got to go and follow Danny, because she will be a constant reminder of that for you. But take a lesson from artists, take a lesson from that world, because their representation of who they are is a visual thing, and it's much more tangible because it's there. If you're in a service-based industry and you haven't got those tangible things directly in front of you, just remember that you are an artist in your craft of whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. We can apply it to so many different fields. What we're speaking on now as well.
And I wanted to, and on that, I want to just quickly make that connection, because you recently came back from a media trip where you were interviewing boxers before a big fight. Nikita Zhu won the Australian title, younger brother of Tim. So you said before we set off on this little chat that there's so many similarities between artists and boxers when it comes to the process, right? And I love that shit, because I'm a massive sports fan, which everybody knows on this podcast now. But just give me 2 or 3 little nuggets from your ethos around that.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, I think, because everyone's like, oh, but you're not a boxer, and like you're interviewing fighters. And for me, at the end of the day, we are relentlessly working on on a craft, and people turn up to the fight after a fight camp or after training. They've been training since they were born for the last 30 years, and there's thousands of countless hours where no one is cheering you on there. You've got no one patting you on the back, and then you go to this fight and you've got this intense high, or I go and deliver a painting and have this intense high, or I finish a mural, but no one's seen the 200 hours that I've put in, or the 2 million hours I've put in over the last 30 years to be able to paint a mural in 2 days. And then you get that pat on the back at the end. But the relentless work that's been put in that journey is what people don't see. And the mental battles and there's so many factors and layers involved. You've got media coming at you, you've got your health, you've got your diet, you've got your fight camp, you've got there's family, there's so many external factors that play a role into this one moment, this one fight. And then you've got the extreme lows on the other side that people also don't realize. You're in a crowd full of thousands of people, you're sucking in so many different energies, toxic energies, all the energy. So I think I just respect and admire the roller coasters, and also just simply to show up, and like for me to put my artwork out there, or to go walk out, in that ring, you have to have a set of nuts to do that. Like, it takes a lot of guts. Like, you're wearing your heart on your sleeve. So any athlete, anything that requires insane dedication, I feel like I can relate to, because I treat my craft as I always say, I'm like, oh, this one was an ultra marathon, this one was a marathon. So that's how I can resonate with their journeys.
Do you think that being put up for public judgment is a part of high performance, or do you feel that there are some parts of life where because I think ultimately, whether it's public judgment or judgment within a circle, right, or within a field, I feel that that's probably something that comes with the territory if you want to truly become a high performance human in whatever it is that you do.
So it could be public judgment
it could also be judgment within your family. I mean,
Yeah.
you mentioned that you've had an incredible family. I've had the fortune of meeting your old man, and a top guy. And you see him, and you see Danny's old man on some of the social media stuff and whatnot, running around after her. But there would have been other people that would have been close to you, like you mentioned, like your art teacher, for God's sake, the one
Mm.
person that you thought might have been supportive.
Mm.
So there's always going to be a degree of judgment.
Always.
Is it any greater than the judgment that you have on yourself, though?
No, I think I'm probably only realizing that I'm definitely just so critical of myself, more so that, and even what I've realized is even when you think people are judging you, like, they're not. Everyone's playing on their own playing field, on their own journey. So a lot of the judgment that we feel is being cast on us is not. It's mostly our own critical thinking that then we imagine the judgment. I think media is like that is straight out judgment, and that's a whole nother ball game. But for the most part, it is a lot of internal. I think for me anyway. Maybe other people won't agree, but yeah.
Now, last question. I wanted to ask you about the role of creativity in high performance, right? Because in many respects, influence and connection, those two pieces, but also the role that creativity plays in happiness, right? How creative can you be with how you want to design your life if you want to talk all altruistic and whatnot? But talk to me about that. Like, when, you, as everybody would have, you're not invincible. You would have had real sort of flat lines of when it comes to creativity at times.
Yeah.
How do you process that? And we're not just talking about being an artist here, but just generally speaking, whether it's media, whether it's your life, whether it's, your relationship with your amazing partner and all those sorts of things. When you flatline on a creative scale, like you talked about burnout before, how do you, or what do you go to? What are your go-tos to start to fill that well again?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've had a lot of periods. Like, I've had one at the start of this year, and a really rough period at the end of last year as well. That was after the rock incident. So
is that just based off the fact that it was a massive major peak? And
yeah, but complete transparency, I think it was, as again, I see the value and the impact that it had on other artists, but it really, my business took a hit after that. Whether or not I think people felt like maybe I was unreachable. That's the only way I can put to. So I had a really big low in business financially, and that was not that I put value on monetary and financial my situation, but it was rough because you just had this huge highlight, and then I was like, how am I going to keep my business ticking right now? So I was in a really low period then. I think it's just working through what you can control in that period. It's like, what can we do to first work on my mental health and get me in a better state where I can actually create? Because sometimes pushing through is not the way to go. Oh no, if I'm in a really bad way, like, I won't be able to push through. Whereas if I'm just like, you know what, I probably need to paint as an outlet. You have to pick your battles there, and I can generally read where I'm at. Other outlets. So initially painting used to be my only outlet, and I'd get into a really big flow state. But as business gets a bit more complicated, it's harder to sort of tap into that. So obviously gym, meditation, doing other things to aid in me getting into that state. And focusing on the things that you can control. Sometimes it's trying something completely different. It's like, okay, this isn't working for me. Let's try another medium, or let's go and do something fun that hopefully, inspires me. Travel, try different things. And I think no two things will work for everyone. But it's important that or you have some go-tos to be able to get through those times, because they will come, especially, when you talk about high performance individuals, when you have when your goalpost is shifting all the time as well, you'll often feel like you're not doing enough. And that's where you can sometimes get into these lows.
I think what I really like, it sort of ties in with something I've mentioned on my socials before. Sometimes it's really good to just try stuff that you're rubbish at,
Yeah.
just to get
Yeah.
out of your own head.
Yeah.
I think that, we can become way too insular when on that pursuit of
Yes.
high performance, or what our version of high performance is. And I think part of that fine line is that self-critique and whatnot, and awfulizing and what have you. But yeah, you would have experienced it to a tremendous extent. Having that ultimate high, not ultimate, but having that massive high, and then having that sort of sense of shit, no one likes me anymore, or no one, or I'm too good for people. Is that what the go is? And there would have been a tremendous amount of self-judgment coming off the back of that, I'm sure. So I think the other thing to point out here, team, is that it doesn't matter how successful you end up being, we'll all cop it at some point, and we'll all continue to cop it at various.
We're all dealing with the same battles. They may be on different scales, but we're all dealing with the same battles.
100%. Now, I'm very, very conscious that I've taken up so much of your time, and this has been such an incredible conversation, one of depth, and one that a lot of people will get a tremendous amount of value from. This is genuinely gold filled stuff that we've had a conversation around today. I want to ask one last thing though, and I think this is probably one thing that I want to perhaps do with all of our guests moving forward. In your pursuit of your version of high performance, what is one thing that you feel you need to work on in order to increase your probability of hitting that high level of high performance that you aspire to? What is one thing?
Asking for help.
Right.
Yeah.
That was very quick.
Yeah. That was like first thing that came to my mind.
Very quick. Explain.
Just, I feel like naturally, being in a field where I've just had to figure it out for myself and just work at it and keep just chipping down, breaking down those walls and those barriers, I feel like I've been a bit of a lone wolf because I've had not many people to help and mentor me. So naturally, I don't feel comfortable asking for help. So I'm like, no, I can do that. And whether it's an ego thing or just I don't want to bother people, because you know what it's like when, people are like, hey, do this, do that.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to get more comfortable is, okay, people ask me for help and I'm more than happy to help them. So I need to then, pass that along and actually ask for help. And I feel like, we don't know everything. And the only way to learn is to have those conversations and build deeper connections and relationships with people. And you'll find that 9 times out of 10, people want to help. And that's the way that they learn and grow too. So beautiful ripple effect. And that's definitely something that I need to do more. And
on that note, I think you've helped out a whole bunch of people over the course of this conversation. I personally cannot thank you enough. This has certainly been a massive help to me, if not anybody else. But I'm sure that anybody listening to this podcast is going to have a tremendous amount of appreciation for your absolute clarity in how you feel about certain things. I appreciate you, and I'm so grateful to be connected to you. I appreciate you and your support, and thank you for providing a platform to be able to speak on these things. It's amazing. No, look, the pleasure's absolutely all mine. Now, team, you are crazy if you do not follow this human right now. You better be doing it. You better be tapping those buttons as you're listening to me talk right now. Make sure you follow her. We'll have all of her handles and whatnot in the show notes, as well as her website, where you can see some of the incredible art that she puts up time and time again. It's a forever hitting a home run as far as I'm concerned. But until next time, Danielle Weber, thank you so much for everything that you've provided us with today. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your support too. Always. Team, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy. Look after yourselves, look after each other, and we'll look forward to speaking to you again next time. Take care, gang.